Sam Smith was a highly skilled driver. Of that there was never a doubt. For just like his father before him, he'd driven day in and day out. All the routes he knew like the back of his hand, all the traction he took in his stride. And the customers knew that when Sam's train was due, they were sure of a trouble-free ride. For several years, or it might have been longer, Sam drove his trains hither and thither. As he burned up the track on his way there and back, there was never the tiniest dither. Till one day he was driving a Pompey Express, and there wasn't a station in sight, when the little flag to tell him all's well, of a sudden went off like a light. Sam tried with the button the brake to release, his cab drill in accord with instruction, but Sam could detect that it had no effect. So much wrong was his final deduction. Before long, the train stopped with a bit of a lump, and Sam sat there thinking no more. Then he said to himself, "Better do something, lad, or you'll never make Pompey by 4. Now, it's all very well to say do something, Sam, to yourself, but do what, you may ask? For sitting there dumb like a petrified mum will do nought to get on with the task. Now, like you and me, Sam has 2 or 3 sides to his character, some worse, some better. And he called up the first one, First Sam he was called, hoping he might turn out a go-getter. But First Sam couldn't care if the wheels were all square and the passengers died of frustration. It annoyed him to think, and it made his heart sink, that they'd stopped so far from a station. If they build these units that break down like this, then I blame the smart Alex who made 'em. They can jolly well sort out the mess by themselves. Why should I lift a finger to aid 'em? So, without more ado, he climbed down from the cab and lit up a fag with a curse. There might have been some better Sams, but certainly none were much worse.
Are we going to be here long?
He gestured at businessmen, leered at the girls, he behaved like a wide boy inspired. When he looked at himself with his arrogant grin, Sam couldn't help saying, "You're fired." Now, what about Second Sam? What about him? He might be worth giving a try. He's a bit over-anxious at times, it is true, but on the whole, he's a pretty good guy. Over-anxious? Well, perhaps that's not the right word. Doesn't think might be nearer the truth. Nearer still, one might say, Second Sam, in his day, was a large, gormless, ill-informed youth. Get things done is his motto, for better or worse, and the things that get done are appalling. He reverses the amps on the fault-finding lamps, and the volts get a right proper mauling. Perhaps a fuse has burnt out in the power supply. Change 'em round, Sam, it's all in the game. If you haven't got spares, don't waste time splitting hairs. No, change 'em around just the same. Try the brakes, try the springs. Something's blocked, that's for sure. Perhaps he can clear it by poking. Or the carriages might have developed a blight on the journey from Weybridge to Woking. Have the passengers pulled any cords? That's a point. Have they panicked and pulled the red lever? Make a physical check. Yes, I'll find it by heck. Second Sam's on his way like a beaver. No, not Second Sam. He gets out of control and loses his head in a jam. Try the third. He's the only one left, so we must. Our salvation might be in Third Sam. Third Sam plays it cool. He's methodical-like. He'll locate trouble for certain. If one flag looks like this and the other like this, it's a fuse that has gone for a Burton. And by further deduction, it's clear that the trouble is in the guard's brake. Sure enough, with these clues, he should find the dud fuse that has stopped all the trains in his wake. In the circle of light from his blazing hand lamp, he locates the dud fuse right away. Then he puts in a new one. He knows where they're kept, and he's ready to go, come what may. Back to his buttons and notching up handle, his heart racing ever so slightly. A moment of hush, he gives button a push. Now the flag switch says on, and quite rightly. With a roar like a dragon, it comes back to life. Sam's train that once looked so poorly. Then it moves, slow at first, then picking up speed. Right back on schedule now, surely. So remember, if you have your troubles one day, be it at Pompey, Eastleigh or Andover, don't have any doubt. Sort your characters out and make sure it's the best one that takes over.
The original story of the Third Sam was told by Stanley Holloway nearly 40 years ago, at a time when many drivers were making the difficult transition from steam to electric traction. But the fundamentals of the story remain as valid today as they were then. In the second part of this programme, we'll look at what it really takes to bring out that Third Sam. Total failure on the line is fairly uncommon. Some drivers go for years before experiencing a failure. Others never have one in an entire career. It's the comparative rarity of such an event that can cause you so much trouble if it does occur.
The 750 volt supply comes.
Maybe you haven't thought about procedures for dealing with a failure since you were at the training school, and maybe that was quite a few years ago. To deal safely and effectively with any given failure, you need to be able to fall back on a well-rehearsed routine. Such a routine will enable you to prioritise your actions, ensure the complete safety of all on board your train, and find the correct remedy for the failure. Let's begin by looking at those vital first reactions to a failure situation and how your thought processes should be marshalled. Once your train has been brought to a stand, the very first consideration must be safety. So begin by going through a mental checklist. Is the train secured? Do I need a current isolation? Do I need to protect the train? Do I need adjacent lines blocked? Do I need the emergency services? If communication with the signaller is available, inform him or her of the situation. Don't forget to give full details of the failure, so that this information can be passed to the fitters as soon as possible. Inform the guard or conductor and ensure that suitable announcements are made to keep the passengers informed.
Attention please customers, this is your senior conductor speaking. Southwest Trains apologize for...
Once you've established that your train is safe and your passengers informed, you can turn your thoughts to rectifying the fault. Making use of your senses, sight, smell and hearing, do you judge the problem to be electrical, mechanical, pneumatic, or a combination of any of these? Have a look at the complete failure in service flowchart in the cab. Now look at your air gauges and flag switches. Try to establish the nature of the fault. For example, is it a brake fault, a power fault, or a control fault? Once you've established the type of fault, use your fault cards to help you locate and rectify the problem. If you can't establish the nature of the fault, or your fault cards don't seem to cover the problem, reach for your Faults and Failure Handbook. The Faults and Failure Handbook contains more detailed information and instructions. It also contains diagrams to help you with the location of isolation cocks and equipment cupboards. If you decide you're unable to locate and rectify the fault, you'll require assistance. Before requesting assistance, you need to consider some important factors. Do I need assistance from the front or rear? What other types of stock are compatible? Where do I lay detonator protection? Remember, the assistance appendix in your train crew handbook sets out the procedure to be followed. When you've considered all these things, contact the signaller again and request your assistance. The signaller may tell you that fitters have already been dispatched and are now close at hand. This is because when you first told the signaller of your problems, he or she will have informed Control, who will in turn have informed Fleet, who immediately sent fitters in your direction. So, you can see why it's important to inform the signaller of your problems as quickly as possible. Of course, in most situations, your assistance will be in the form of another train. Remember to keep your passengers informed and updated regularly. This is not simply a matter of keeping the customer happy, although this is important. It has vital safety implications. How many times in the past has failure to inform passengers of breakdowns and delays resulted in unauthorized and dangerous evacuation of the train? Let's summarize the main points again. Sam Smith found out the hard way. Sort out your best character first. Stay calm and collected. Go through your mental checklist. Prioritize your actions. Use your air gauges, flags or fault lights to judge the symptoms of the failure. Deal with the failure in a rational way, using the cab flowchart, your fault cards and the Faults and Failure Handbook. Don't waste time. Remember, every minute of delay costs money. Finally, communicate. Keep everybody fully informed.